Hi. Today let us examine how we do a recession of the rectus muscle. Basically, the principle of recession is shifting the insertion posteriorly and thereby altering the length tension curve of the muscle. And this in effect weakens the effect of the muscle on the globe. As we increase the amount of recession, the correction obtained also increases till we reach the equator. Once the insertion goes beyond the equator, the movements are also restricted, and hence the concept of safe limit of recession. So for a medial rectus muscle it is about 6 mm, and for a lateral rectus muscle it is about 9 mm. Coming to the anesthesia, it can be done either under general anesthesia, local anesthesia or topical anesthesia depending on the preference of the surgeon and the age of the patient. But it's important to monitor the pulse rate in all these patients because of the risk of oculocardiac reflex. Instrumentation of recession is actually very minimal, just a cataract set. In addition to it, you need a muzzle hook and a caliper. A double-armed 6-0 vicryl is the usual suture material used. The needle should be spatulated and reverse cutting. Coming to the types of recession, a standard recession involves anchoring the muzzle to the sclera at the intended point of recession. Whereas in contrast, a hangback recession, as the name suggests, the muzzle is anchored at the insertion and then allowed to hang backwards. Whereas an adjustable suture is a modification of the hangback technique which allows the readjusting the amount of recession once the anesthetic effect wears off. So next, coming to the surgery proper, the first step in recession of the muscle is a conjunctival incision, and this is one of the important steps. Conjunctival incision can be either limbal based incision or a fornix based incision. It depends on the comfort of the surgeon. Basically, the fornix based incision gives a better cosmesis, while a limbal based incision gives a good exposure of the muscle. So it's particularly useful for beginners and whenever you need to do a resurgery, so you get a better exposure so that you can see the muscle properly and do the proper procedure whatever is necessary. Once the conjunctival incision is made, the muscle is then carefully hooked under full visualization. Blindly passing and trying to hook the muscle should be totally avoided, as it can engage other tissues as well as damage the other tissues, leading to complications. The muscle is then separated from the adjacent tissues and a single arm suture is passed on either end of the muscle to secure the muscle. You can also use a double arm suture wherein you take a central knot and then pass the other two edges to the edge of the muscle. It is very important to tightly anchor the muscle, otherwise you may have a lost muscle or a slipped muscle later. The muscle is then carefully disinserted from the sclera, taking care not to damage the sutures, or else it can result in a slipped muscle or a lost muscle at a later date. Measurements are then made from the insertion or from the limbus to the desired point of recession. Next, the suture is passed through the sclera at a depth of about 0.2 mm and the length of the bite should be about 1.5 mm. Taking the scleral bite is actually the most important step in strabismus surgery, and hence it is preferable to do all strabismus surgeries under microscope to prevent perforation of the globe. If you go too deep, you are going to perforate the globe. On the other hand, if you take a very superficial bite, then there may be a risk of the suture giving way at a later date, resulting in either a slipped or a lost muscle. So hence it is always advisable to do strabismus surgeries under the microscope with a good visualization and with good illumination, so that you don't end up accidentally perforating the globe. So once the muscle is secured, the last step, but not the least, is the conjunctival closure. This is very important because strabismus surgery is also a cosmetic surgery, and an improperly opposed flap can give a very bad cosmetic appearance. So the flap should be very closely opposed and properly sutured, or you can also use a fibrin glue to close the conjunctiva. Complications of recession can be either a slipped muscle or a lost muscle, undercorrections, overcorrections, and sometimes motility disturbances. So in conclusion, recession of the rectus muscle is a very simple procedure which can be mastered by any anterior segment surgeon, and it should always be the primary procedure of choice for all strabismus surgeries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Dr. Arun. I call Dr. Sumita, Madam, Sandra, and Jiten for the panel discussion for this topic.
I have also joined Dr. Pandey.
Good morning, sir. Please,
Good morning.
sir, you also come for the panel discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Can I say something? I think the double arm suture is more secure, and most of us are using double arm suture because you have a central knot and you have locking bites on the sides. And all the different recti have their own issues, like LR has inferior oblique, one has to be careful about while dissecting. The IR has its own issues, and SR is with SO. So other than MR, every muscle has a neighbor or some neighbor which has to be looked after. MR has more propensity for slipping and being lost, so that is another problem. So each muscle has its own distinctive features, and I think we should be careful about that.
Sumita, ma'am, your inputs?
I think he mentioned about several different incisions. So I think if you are a beginner, it is important that you take an incision which gives you the widest coverage, less likely to bleed, and gives you a good visualization of the muscle. So it's nothing wrong if you start with an incision which Arun showed as being a limbal incision, and then as your experience increases, you can move on to fornix based incisions, which are smaller and sometimes require just 1 or 2 sutures. But I think incision size should not worry you if you are a beginner. Second thing, if you are doing a fornix based incision, it is very important to do, because it's a relatively small incision and visualization is not as good. It is important that you quickly do a pole test before you to make sure that your muscle is hooked completely, and then only proceed with the further dissection. And otherwise it's sometimes with so I think these are my 2 points about the incision.
Ma'am, do you use cautery?
I do use cautery. If your bleeder is going to affect your visualization, there's no point in holding back the cautery, but use very judiciously and very little, the minimum cautery which is required to just get rid of that bleeding. It's an important tool in adults. You can safely use drops to reduce the brimonidine drops to use the to reduce the bleeding. So 15 minutes before surgery, if you put 1 drop of brimonidine, it really helps you in cutting down the bleeding. So you need much less cautery in those cases. Of course, children, you have to check with your anesthetist before you use the brimonidine drops. So that is an important, very, very nice way of reducing your bleeding during surgery by using a brimonidine drops.
Cautery,
I'll just add
to
Dr. Sumita's.
Dr. Sumita?
I'll just add to Dr. Sumita that children, I think brimonidine should not be used because it can cause profound CNS depression.
Yes. I said that.
Secondly, with the fornix incision, there can be sometimes misassessment of the muscles. So there have been reports where people have done inferior rectus in place of medial rectus when they are doing fornix incisions. So I agree with ma'am that for the beginners, it is better to start with von Nuden's limbal incision.
And
I have done that.
Cautery, I have had no difficulty without not using cautery. I have had no problems. I don't use any cautery. Brimonidine drops, of course, you can use in adults, but in children, of course, you have to be careful. But I think cautery can be avoided. It just causes more thing. Tissue damage.
Dr. Sandra, your input?
Dr. Stan.
if age is age is also a factor. If any patient above 45, I do not usually prefer with fornix. My usual preference is between the ages of 10 to 45, because more than that it kind of tears, and by the end of it, it looks like a limbal incision.
Yeah, that's true.
It's bleeding. It is always, even if you start with a small incision fornix, it's better to convert it into a full fornix. If there is a lot of bleeding, the muscle visualization is not easy in a fornix incision.